What more can I say? I wouldn't be here today.
Buddies, how you all doing? So today's video is about a myth that I would like to talk about, and that is about frame sliders. Now, I get this question very often, that is, Vikas, which frame sliders should I put onto my motorcycle? The moment anyone purchases a motorcycle, the first thing that they think about is buying frame sliders and putting them onto their motorcycle, because they believe, very strongly believe, that in case of a crash, frame sliders are going to protect the motorcycle, and when the motorcycle falls and hits the ground, nothing would happen. They can just pick up the motorcycle back again and keep riding. Well, it is only partially true. That is, now it is all about physics and inertia. Now, what are frame sliders? You see what is installed on my motorcycle here, this kind of a thing which pops out and which is installed onto the frame is known as a frame slider. It is installed onto the frame using bolts. Now, let me keep this very simple for you all. That is, should you install frame sliders on your motorcycle or not? And the answer is, well, if you want your motorcycle to look very stylish and if you want to protect your motorcycle on low speed falls, then yes, frame sliders will protect your motorcycle only on a low speed crash, or in case your motorcycle just tips over from the stand and falls down. But in case of a high speed crash, in case your motorcycle crashes over 100 kilometers per hour or something like that, then frame sliders are not going to protect your motorcycle, whereas they can put so much of pressure onto the frame that the frame can bend. So in case you don't have frame sliders, then your motorcycle would fall and you would end up putting on scratches onto the surface of the motorcycle, probably dent your tank, or scrape the sides of your motorcycle. But in case of a frame slider, just imagine, just understand the inertia that the motorcycle would be carrying, traveling at about 100 odd kilometers an hour. It would twist and pull the frame slider and bend the frame. So frame sliders come in primarily two forms. One is a single bolt which goes into the frame, which are not good at all. And the second kind of frame sliders are the ones which I have. These are 2 contact and they have 2 bolts. So these are slightly better because the power, the inertia in case of a fall would get distributed in a much wider manner onto the frame. Now, you would kind of get surprised by what I'm going to be saying right now. That is, the traditional crash guards that come along with the motorcycle, which are curved, which are like an arch in shape. On the Duke 390, they are like an arch. And on Royal Enfield motorcycles, they are huge crash guards. Those are much better in case of a crash because they distribute the force in 2 different places when the motorcycle falls, and they also bend very gradually. So the energy absorption on a traditional crash guard is much better and your frame would not bend so easily. But on a frame slider, the word goes frame slider, yes, on the event when the frame slider touches the ground, when your motorcycle is running at a very high speed, the odds of it bending the frame are very, very high. So now, should you install a frame slider or not? Well, you can, because it makes your motorcycle look very good. That is the reason I did it onto my Duke 390. But remember the fact that it is not going to save your motorcycle on high speed crashes, and it can potentially bend your frame. So that is it, buddies, from my side. And if you're not subscribed to me, you're missing out on about 650 videos. And if you like this video, do give it a thumbs up. Thank you. Bye-bye.